Just fucking with you. So, Matt here. No, there's nothing wrong with your volume on your computer. Hence the movie A Quiet Place. I'm going to do my review for A Quiet Place Part 2. Came out this weekend. This movie was supposed to come out last April. Actually, we were like 2, maybe 3 weeks away from the movie being released. In fact, they already had the Los Angeles premiere at the time. I remember photos coming up on the red carpet, the whole, even some people were about to post their review, like in mere days. And then of course everything shut down, and well, the rest is history. Now here we are. But before I go into my review, I want to bring up the first A Quiet Place. Came out in 2018, starring John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Melissa Simmons, and Noah Jupe. It was my favorite movie of 2018. This is one of those movies like you hear about, like, the first Matrix, or Jurassic Park, or The Terminator, or Alien. That rare movie that just shocks you the first time you see it, like something you've never seen before. I mean, going with almost most of the movie being completely silent was something unheard of. I mean, you can pretty much not even, probably back in the day when they first started making movies, and they didn't even have sound yet, you can probably argue that was the last time you actually saw a silent film. The cinematography, the acting, the score, the scares, the aliens, the editing, the pacing, an hour and 23-minute movie, the suspense, the thrills. This movie was my favorite movie of 2018. And that was the year we had Avengers Infinity War. That was the year we had Bumblebee. That was the year we had Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That was the year we had even Aquaman I enjoyed. So, and then there were other movies out, Black Panther that year. But A Quiet Place was my favorite film. So, as you can expect, when I was mere weeks away from seeing the sequel, and they pulled the plug, I was not a happy camper. And then now even going into this one, my anticipation was not very high to live up to the original. So, does the new A Quiet Place Part 2 live up to the original? Yes and no. As a continuation of the first one, yes. I think not only in the acting department that I'm going to get into in a minute, but even John Krasinski's direction. This one, A Quiet Place Part 2, John Krasinski also was the only writer on this film. On the first one, he had a co-writer on it. This one, he is the only writer. Once again, he's back to direct this movie. I think John Krasinski's direction is better than in the first one. His overall, you can see he has more confidence behind the camera than he did. Not that he didn't have confidence in the first one, but you can definitely see a progression from the original to now A Quiet Place Part 2. But let's get into the main positives and negatives with this movie. Give me one moment as I bring up my notes on here. Rather than having my computer here and it making noise, I figured I'd just take a photo of my notes, and that way I can discuss them. Okay. So, number one, the first positive. John Krasinski's direction. This is John Ridley's third directorial film. He actually did a movie before the original Quiet Place. Quiet Place is actually his second film. I think his direction here is great, from the direction of getting the performances of the actors, especially the young kids. Because once again, Maleficent Simmons, the daughter, before this movie, she was a nobody. She never acted. Now, Maleficent Simmons is a deaf actress. It's not just the character in the movie. In real life, she is a deaf actress. She can't hear. So, John Krasinski's direction of the kids is great in this one. Also, the way the camera works in this one is also another step up. You saw a preview of it in the trailer, but the whole opening scene of Emily Blunt driving in the car and the camera, a long shot, a long tracking shot of her driving, going back to the kids in the back seat, back to the front, the bus coming toward them, as she's driving back, reversing, driving backwards, looking at the kids, dealing with the kids. Then you see the monster's arm come out of the bus. I mean, all of that is like, whoa. Right? Even there you see the confidence in John Krasinski's direction. Let's move on to Suspense. This movie is suspense. There are, once again, like the original, there are a lot of moments that you're just like, don't make a sound. No. And even with the character of Maleficent Simmons, who's deaf, there are moments you're like, oh man, when she's all alone, she doesn't realize she's making noise because she can't hear. And you're just wondering, where's the monster? Where's the monster? Where is it? Where is it? It has to hear that noise. Or another moment that I won't spoil, that happens to Noah Jupe's character, that that scene was so intense that you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. So the suspense is also in this one. Now, the cinematography. I already mentioned the opening scene in the car. Also, there's a scene with Cillian Murphy. He's like on a beach over the water, and the sun is rising. And just the shots on the beach are, beautiful to look at. There's scenes later on near the end of the movie that really, bring some interesting camera shots. There's a shot from overhead that kind of pans down all the way to the daughter kneeling on the gravel. And the way it just went from one, high angle over the head, over the top, kind of like a bird's eye view, and then down all the way down to like the ground, was just a beautiful shot. Smooth, you understood. It also tells a lot about the character in the moment without saying anything. Great cinematography again. Now the acting. I want to applaud John Krasinski for having the confidence in not only the young kids in this movie, but one of them in particular, Maleficent Simmons, the daughter in this movie, is the star of this film. Now in the original, it was definitely John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, but the kids were really good too. Here, this is not a Jurassic Park movie. This is not a Jurassic Park movie in the sense of, oh yeah, we're going to have kids in the movie, but they're not going to have any character development. They're just going to be in there to get people worried that, oh man, is the dinosaur going to eat the kid? But as we know with Steven Spielberg, he doesn't kill kids. So, no. The kids are just going to be in the movie, so that way kids want to go see the movie because they see themselves in the characters. But no. John Krasinski puts all his faith into Maleficent Simmons, who plays, not only in real life, but also in the movie, a deaf character, and she is amazing. I mean, there are scenes in this movie that you know, you're doing better acting in this movie than anyone last year in a film. It's unbelievable acting. A new character in this movie is played by Cillian Murphy. By now you should know who Cillian Murphy is. From 28 Days Later, Batman Begins, he played Scarecrow. He was in Red Eye. He was the main villain in Red Eye with Rachel McAdams. He was in Inception. He was in Dunkirk. I mean, the guy, when I see Cillian Murphy in a movie, I am very interested. Because this guy, no matter what he does, he always gives a great performance. And in this movie, it's no different. We don't have John Krasinski in this film like we did in the first one, but Cillian Murphy, steps up to the plate and knocks another performance out of the park. Him and Maleficent Simmons are mainly the two characters we follow. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but a good portion of the movie is just them. And they have great chemistry, and I really like Cillian Murphy's arc from the beginning to the end. He just gives an amazing performance. And he doesn't have that much dialogue either. Once again, this is a quiet place. There's not much noise. There's not much dialogue. So it's all in the performance. It's all in the emotion and the range. And Cillian Murphy brings it. Another thing, like the original, the first one was only an hour and 23 minutes before credits. This movie's about with credits is an hour and 37. But I would say probably is about probably 90 minutes exactly, and it moves. From the moment we enter the opening credits, go right into the movie with a flashback till the time the movie ends. You're on a roller coaster from beginning to end. It doesn't stop. And I don't mean there's not quiet moments or not like settled down moments. There are. But it just never slows down. And it works. Like I said, between the original and this movie, in 3 hours, you can watch both movies. And you would never feel like 3 hours went by. That's great. Once again, even though the family does leave the house from the original, the silent aspect of this movie is still there. There is still lots of time of just silence. So if you're one of those people that needs to hear noise, needs to hear talking, dialogue, guess what? Just like the original, there's going to be a lot of quiet moments. And I'm glad that John Krasinski still stuck with that. Because once again, the title is A Quiet Place. Another thing, this movie has an amazing sound design. The sound design is, which is funny, you're like, but Matt, you said it's silent. How can there be sound design? Well, people, you ever been on a film set or been in an editing room? Guess what? Even though it's a silent for a lot of the movie, you still have sound, whether it's, once again, when you're cutting from scene to scene with different storylines going on at once, you got noises from the monsters, you got background noises and things hitting, you got the music. It all works perfectly. Or especially that opening flashback with all the chaos erupting. The sound design is great here, and I hope it gets nominated for an Academy Award. It's top notch. The score, once again, like in the original, the score is great. With the intense and suspenseful moments, that score really, ratchets it up to, makes you want to be on the edge of your seat. Like, oh no, what's going to happen? That music is building and building and building. Well, again, the direction from John Krasinski, the writing works, the cinematography is great, and the performances from Melissa Simmons and Cillian Murphy are wonderful, are great. The pacing, the sound design, the score, all perfect. Now, let me get into some of the negatives real quick. And there are some negatives. I'm not gonna lie. The first negative, the boy, the son, played by Noah Jupe. You might remember Noah Jupe from, when this movie came out, he was still a kind of an unknown actor. He's really young in that movie. Since then, he's been in movies like Wonder. He was in Ford v Ferrari. He was in Honey Boy, playing the young Shia LaBeouf. And now he's back in this movie. And guess what? The actor does a great job. My problem with the movie was his character, and I won't spoil what happens to his character because it's part of what happens to his character, why he kind of gets the back seat a little bit. He still has an arc in the movie, but is not as dominant as his sister, played by Melissa Simmons. But he still kind of takes the back seat. And like I said, Wonder and Ford v Ferrari and Honey Boy, I was really looking forward to seeing now that maybe he's going to have more screen time and no more John Krasinski. Let's see his acting. Let's see what he does now. And I said he does a fine job, he does a good job. There wasn't much for his character to do in this one. Also, Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt plays the wife, or now widow, and the mother of the two children. She had a bigger role in the first movie, and no wonder. I mean, you got John Krasinski, you got Emily Blunt, the big stars of the film. The other two people were unknowns. But once again, I like how John Krasinski and Emily Blunt said, you know what? We had the screen time in the first movie. Let's pass it along to the kids and give them more stuff to do. And, like I said, Emily Blunt also takes the back seat in this movie. She really doesn't have much to do in this film. I mean, even though the stuff that she has to do, once again, she's always great in anything that she does. There's one scene in the movie, I won't spoil it, when she is having to deal with one of the aliens that confronts her. And the whole scene, the choreography and the shot compositions and the acting was really well done. Great scene. But once again, I wish there was more of her. In the trailer, we see Jayson Hanson. People might remember him from Gladiator, Blood Diamond, Never Back Down. I was excited. I mean, I like him. He's a great actor. If you go into wanting to see Jayson Hanson, without spoiling once again, he's only in about 5 minutes of the movie. So if you're hoping to see more of him, you don't. It really is like a throwaway role. I don't get why they're just going to get some, regular actor, regular Joe. One of the names like that, John Krasinski wrote the script. So this is probably more on John Krasinski than anything. This movie had to bring up a lot of interesting ideas, a lot of interesting things that happen in the movie. And we just get a little sprinkle, a little, but not enough. They never fully explored some of these ideas. In the trailer, Cillian Murphy says, Emily Blunt's like, no, we need to go help people, we need to go save people. And Cillian Murphy's like, there's no people worth saving. People are evil, they're basically like no different than the monsters themselves. And, and this movie really doesn't ever go into that. Like we see in one scene a group of people, like really creepy, shady people do something, but then that's it. There's nothing else. They're never explored more. We don't even see any more, like, evil people. It's just one and done. And like, well, when most of your trailer talked about, people aren't worth saving, they're not what you think. Well, and then we have another group of people that we do see, they're living on this island, and they seem like their lives are completely normal. We're 474 days since the aliens arrived, and they're living their best life. They're having fun. Nothing's wrong. And you're like, so have the aliens ever come here after all these 474 days? If they have come here, and these people just figure out a way to get rid of the aliens? None of this. And then there's a scene where they're like, have they found a way to get rid of them? Have the aliens ever been here? We don't know. It's never been talked about. It's never explored further. Then there's a scene that Noah Jupe goes into this room and he sees something. I won't spoil it. And it's creepy and it's nasty and you're just like, why? I need to know why. I need this to be explored more. Is it really wrong? Creepy? Disgusting? And it's never brought up again. And I know John Krasinski's like, yeah, I sprinkled some stuff into this movie that will explore more in the third film. But I say, well, John, what if we don't get a third movie? I mean, we are going to get a third movie. The movie that at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes has made over $58 million opening weekend, not even counting Monday and Memorial Day. This movie has made more money in its opening weekend than any movie during the pandemic. During the pandemic, and even movies prior to the pandemic. So yeah, we're getting a third one, but still, you can't leave that up to, well, I was gonna put it in the third one. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, that doesn't happen. So I'm glad that you are getting a third one, but you can't just say, well, I sprinkled it in here to follow it up in the next one. I hate that. I hate when movies do that, or shows do that. Well, in season 4, we were gonna go do this. Well, we're only in season 2, so, way to go. So yeah, stuff like that. And finally, this movie, it's very interesting. Review critics said, it feels like a chapter. Like chapter 1 was the Quiet Place part. The Quiet Place. Quiet Place Part 2 is chapter 2. And then Quiet Place Part 3 is going to be chapter 3. And it feels like a Lord of the Rings movie, or trilogy. Because part 1 just ended. It had a resolution. They figured out how to, kill the aliens, their weakness. But it still just ended. This one, really, part 2 just ends. There's really not even a resolution in this one. It just ends. So it might have felt like Lord of the Rings now. Each Lord of the Rings movie just kind of ended, and the next one picked up right where the last one left off. Part 2 picked up right where the first one left off. So I'm looking forward to part 3. Matt the Matt here will give this Quiet Place Part 2 a 4.8 out of 5 Matts. It doesn't. The first one I gave it a 5 out of 5. This one is just right under it. It's still a great sequel. It still continues and explores this family. It still does reveal certain things that we didn't know about in the first one. It brings in new characters like Cillian Murphy, that are very interesting. And overall, I'm looking forward to part 3. Once again, Matt the Matt here. Like and subscribe on Attack Matt Productions on YouTube. If you haven't seen A Quiet Place Part 2, go see it in the theater. It is only in theaters. You can't stream it. I think it's not until 45 days from now, when it will be on Paramount Plus then. But I recommend go see it in the theater. This is a movie theater experience. Despite the idiot kids in the theater talking, people, guess what? This is not your living room. You're not at home watching Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or Disney Plus. You're in a public place. It's a movie theater. People are paying to watch this movie, especially when most of the movie is silent. The last thing I should hear is nothing. You know what I should hear? Nothing. And what did I hear in this movie for about 20 minutes? Kids talking. And guess what, idiot kids? Just because you have a mask on, I can still hear you. The mask doesn't cover your mouth. I mean, it covers your mouth, but it doesn't shut you up. You know what? We're back in the movie theaters are back open now. The last thing people want to be now is not want to go to the theater because you're talking. When you're in a movie theater, shut up. I'm paying to go see that movie. Other people are paying to see the movie. Shut up. If you want to talk, go out in the auditorium or stay at home. You've been home for a year. Just stay there. We don't need you there. We're here to enjoy a movie. Period. Sorry for that rant, but when 20 minutes of the movie, all I heard was conversation, not from the movie itself, it started to get me annoyed. So, if you go to the movie theater, watch the movie in silence. Especially a movie that's only 90 minutes. If you can't control your mouth for 90 minutes, don't leave your house. Period. That's all. Bye-bye.